Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first Game Master Roundtable, I believe, with a new name, isn't it? Pretty close. Good to see everybody. I am Wally DM, and I am going to be your host this evening. And it is great to see everybody out there. Thank you for joining us, and good to see a lot of folks in chat. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have some fun with monsters. We're going to talk about the Basilisk. We're going to talk about the Hellhound, the Banshee, and the Golem. So if you would like to participate in any of that, the way that we're going to do this is each of us are going to take a turn to tell a story or how we would use these monsters in a fun or crazy way. And then after each of us gives that part, then we'll look at the questions in chat and we'll address those as well. But before I get started, I do want to give everyone a chance to introduce themselves and any projects they may be working on. And we'll start with
recording in progress.
And now we are recording. We will start with AJ Pickett. AJ.
Hello. What am I talking about?
Not that anyone else needs an introduction, but if you want to talk about your channel, some stuff you're working on, this is your moment to shine. You can whatever, if you want to talk about the weather, you're good. Whatever
I'm just some guy from New Zealand who makes YouTube videos about role-playing games. Really, that's it. I also do artwork occasionally, and mostly talk about monster ecologies and stuff because people ask me to. But if you want me to talk about anything else, ask me about other things.
Josiah.
Hello. I'm Josiah, known as Dungeon Dad, around the internet. I also make videos about monsters and fantasy creatures and all that good stuff. I actually do have something to announce. I guess I'm gonna say hi in chat. Hey, if you want to check out my channel, you can. I do videos all about monsters, but I also have a second channel now, which I just linked in chat also, which has nothing uploaded to it yet. But there will be things uploaded to it soon. Yeah, there will be things uploaded to it soon. So if you want to get it on the ground floor of that, you can check that out. But yeah, that's me.
The question there, AJ, you're going to keep running your game with Josiah and Wally? Yes, I am. We may even switch over to a different system.
Awesome.
It doesn't really matter to me.
Esper.
Flip the RPG.
There you go. Esper.
Hello, everybody. I'm Esper. My YouTube channel is Esper the Bard. I make videos about Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing and fantasy in general. And, well, I have a couple things I could mention. One is I've been running this adventure series called Eldritch Castle. So if you want to see an immersive adventure where you go into the story yourself and even with your comments can influence what the character does, go check out Eldritch Castle over on Esper the Bard. And then here shortly, I'm going to be launching a Kickstarter for my new 5th edition book called Monstrous Heroes, which has a whole bunch of monster classes. So you can play as all kinds of monstrous things using the same familiar structure of a player character. I guess I can put a link in the chat. Why not? It's not even in pre-launch yet, but you can go and see a preview of it using that link there. I guess I should have wrote Monstrous Heroes first. So yeah, hi, hello, glad to be here.
Esper also wrote the compendium of the Esper's esoteric compendium. What was it called?
You're so close, man. Just you're warm.
Esper's esoteric.
It's all E's. Alliterate with all the E's.
I can't remember the first word.
Emporium.
Emporium of Esoterica. It's a big book full of all sorts of stuff for the that game that we won't mention.
Yeah, it's a great book. I have a copy myself. Very good.
And I'm in it.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yes, AJ is in it.
I didn't know that.
Very fashionably so. The hat is just.
Fred from How to D&D or How to RPG, I should say.
Yes, yes. I now don't talk about Dungeons and Donuts. I talk about how to use and operate a rocket-propelled launcher, or role-playing games occasionally as well. Yeah, so I just do everything to do with role-playing games now. And AJ has finally convinced me to talk about monster lore, and then somebody threw a giant, huge asteroid at me, so that didn't help. But yeah, I do all that sort of thing. I am the game master, roundtable wrangler. I wrangle people into these things, and I pay them with nothing. They just come for the love of it. It's like, how's it going, buddies? It's been a while. My new Kickstarter is going to be opening very shortly. It will be the ability to play real-world politicians in your role-playing games. So any particular politician that you want to play, you will now be able to play. Just look out for that Kickstarter opening probably near the middle of the year.
Awesome. I think that sounds absolutely terrible.
Are there aberration creature types?
Monstrosities.
Amongst the politicians?
Lots of deception checks. Lots and lots of deception.
There is a small YouTube channel I'd just like to give a shout out to, which is Total Party Skills. And King Waspinator is the guy who publishes. He's a self-published writer. He's got a lot of titles, and he's got a really good satirical take on your fighting, to fully monetize your product, your player base and stuff. And it's a total piss take of what's going on right now, but in the form of a real simple, easy to pick up role playing game. So just a shout out,
nice
to that guy. Yeah,
I think I'm going to develop my own craft beer role playing game. If anybody's interested in that, that should be coming out April 1st this year. We'll see. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's
Dungeons and Flagons.
Drunkens and flagons.
Sounds like that's been done before. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Let's talk about some monsters. I'm going to look at the screen that everyone else sees. So we're going to start in that order, which is going to be AJ, Josiah, Esper, myself, and then Fred. And then on the next monster, we'll reverse the order. So we're going to start with AJ. We're going to talk about... Oh, wait, I have a graphic. I got to put this graphic up. So we're going to take off the round table and put a basilisk in the middle. Yeah, it worked. Okay. So, AJ, how would you use the basilisk?
Well, first of all, where does the basilisk come from? Where is it derived from and put into the world's most overblown game? Well, it's actually synonymous with the cockatrice. The two are one and the same. It's the king of serpents. So essentially, the story is that through various evil conditions, a cockatrice would be a male, like a cock that lays an egg, and it hatches into this evil serpent thing, which is so poisonous, even looking at it is enough to kill you. And that transmogrified over the years into, and it was also part of heraldry. But people believed these things actually existed. It was like the cryptid of the time, with the latest reports being in the 15th, 16th century or something like that. So people thought these things were real. So it was a super poisonous serpent, essentially. And then it turned into the two different creatures in fantasy role-playing, which is the cockatrice and the basilisk. So the basilisk being a multi-legged serpent that can kill you with its gaze, kind of like a Medusa. Whereas the cockatrice would kill you with a touch of its feathers on its tail in particular. And it would die if exposed to the sound of a cockerel crow in the morning. But otherwise, it was just an evil, evil thing. In games, I've used basilisks pretty much straight as they're written, but I put them in very unusual positions. Usually it's in restricted conditions where the players don't have the ability to move around a lot. Wide open spaces, which are quite often the bane of solo encounters, are the boon of creatures with gaze attacks, of course. So put them in a big empty hall or something like that, where it comes out from underneath an overturned banquet table, where it's been munching on some old, desiccated, moldy banquet stuff, and there's stone people who have been all turned into stone around what used to be a banquet, and this thing's just been eating up all the leftovers.
Love it. Very good, very good, and definitely chat's excited that you brought up the cockatrice as well. So well done. that will bring us to Josiah. Share a story with us.
Yeah, well, something that's interesting about basilisks as well is they have that quality, which is kind of the most famous part of the Medusa legend, where if they see a mirrored surface because they're not the smartest, they'll think sometimes that it's a rival, so they'll petrify themselves. It's kind of like if you've ever had a dog that sees its reflection in like a big mirror along the side of a sliding closet door or something, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I thought it would be funny if you had in some remote, very Spartan community a guy who is like a glassmith or he's selling mirrors and there's just no industry for it. Everyone's like, this guy, like, who cares? Like, you need one mirror in your house, maybe even then. So he's just catching and releasing basilisks nearby so that it creates an artificial problem so that he can sell these big mirrors to people who are like traveling through the mountains. Like, oh, you won't want to leave town and go up to the mountains without one of my mirrors. Like, there are basilisks everywhere. And he's just kind of created an invasive species problem. So if that's something your players want to get to the bottom of, they're like, where the fuck are all these basilisks coming from? Like, they are not native to this part of the world. It was the mirror salesman all along. That's my pitch for a basilisk themed one shot. Although, I mean, who knows how far it goes? You got to follow the basilisks, man. Like, could go all the way to the top.
Good. Love it. What about you, Esper? What do you have for us? Basilisk.
Oh, yes. So I will also be just telling some anecdotes from my campaigns. That's what I like to do with these roundtables. I'll try not to be as long-winded this time. I might have gone a little overboard on some prior retellings. So it was the start of a new campaign, and a good friend of mine, Adam, was playing D&D for the first time ever. He'd never played a tabletop role-playing game before. And in this session, they encountered a basilisk. And in the encounter with the basilisk, his character was petrified. And the look on his face is something I will treasure for the rest of my life, as he realized, I am playing a completely different type of game here. This is not a video game. I'm actually fully petrified, turned to stone permanently. And now the party has to go on a sort of tangent quest to figure out a way to get me reverted back to flesh, which they did. So that's all. There wasn't really anything spectacular about the encounter. There wasn't anything really exotic or wacky about it. But I just realized, this is a great monster to introduce new players into D&D or tabletop role-playing in general terms, because it really lets them know that this is different than what you've played before. You can fail in all kinds of spectacular ways and have horrible dooms descend upon you. And then that can lead to additional storytelling even. So.
Absolutely. I think being turned to stone is worse than dropping to 0 hit points, because everybody's got a healing potion on. But when you get turned to stone, it's like, anybody have anything to help this guy?
Don't knock him over.
Which reminds me of, in previous editions, like in the long ago, you were only allowed one saving throw. Make a saving throw versus turn to stone. If you failed that, it was done. That's it. Game over. Yeah. Nowadays, you get at least a couple tries at it. So, I do have 2 stories to share. The first one is a trap video that is on my channel. Now, this isn't a trap that I wrote. It is actually from a book called Traps and Treachery. It is, I believe, a 3rd edition product, maybe, or to go with the D20 system, so early 2000s. And it's called the Hall of Illusions Trap. And I always thought this was really neat, the way that was set up, because there is a hallway of these images, these window images, and each one of them is covered with an illusion. Well, if you look into, let's say you start at the first one and you look into that, it just comes into this like great detail, and you can see like puzzle clues. Like when I put it in the video, there would be a letter in there, and you would be able to see this letter in this scene, this vivid scene. So all of the characters would go through each of these first 6 windows, and they would get some kind of detail by staring into these illusions or these window illusions. By the time they get to the 7th one and they're staring in there, they know how this game works, try to get whatever it is. The illusion drops and there's a basilisk staring right back at them. And that's where the trap is sprung on them. I always thought that was fun. I never got to run it, but that video seems to get a lot of likes. But what I would really like to do is I want to make a basilisk a pet of a Medusa lair. I always thought that would be a lot of fun. I would have the adventurers enter this lair, and they have a basilisk that is guarding the lair, and of course they're going to kill the basilisk, and then they're going to enter the lair and nobody's there. They're going to be able to loot the room, take whatever they want, and they're thinking, oh, that was easy, killed the basilisk, got into the next room, took what we want, game over. A few sessions down the road, a few important NPCs or maybe even their pets are starting to be turned to stone. And eventually one of these Medusas are going to come forth and like, you killed our pet. We're not happy about that. Not only do we want all of our stuff back, but now you have to replace our pet. So in order for us to quit turning to stone everybody and everything that you love, you need to go out and get us a new basilisk. So sending the adventurers out on a quest to capture a basilisk, I think that'd be a lot of fun.
There's one thing I've learned in role-playing games, particularly over the last few years. It's if you have ladies who are playing in your game and you involve companion animals or familiars, they will absolutely kill everything in their path to rescue it. It's a fantastic way to motivate them.
They will also result
And
in
then the only
entire
question
party
is,
dying.
what do you name the pet basilisk? Rocky.
Rocky.
I just had an idea. Imagine if you had some elves, for instance.
How many legs does it have? 6, 8?
Yeah, it's got 6 legs, I think. Imagine if you had some elves and they grew an aggressive form of alchemically enhanced vine, and then they had a tube with a basilisk in it, and they basically just remove the front end of the tube and go and turn it all into stone to reinforce their buildings and things.
Now we're
You're
They
welcome.
have 8 legs. Actually, I just see that Wally put the image of it.
Is it 8 legs?
Yes.
It's octagon would be a good.
That means they could have a winged basilisk.
And truly scare the bejesus out of people. It's funny you mentioned pets, Wally, because I had written down here, what about a basilisk that is a pet for a earth elemental or a stone giant that are, because they're made of stone, and for me, stone giants, I don't care what everybody says, they're made of stone for me. They're living stone. Okay, all right, okay, cool. And of course they'd have to be immune to poison, because usually if you're made of stone, that makes sense that you would be immune to poison, would it not? So they could actually have pets, earth elementals and stone giants. I thought that was definitely doable. But yes, Medusas always work. So the idea I'm going to present is the last one on my list here, kind of, until I wrote something down. I was thinking about a cursed person, somebody who's been inflicted with some sort of curse that transforms into a basilisk and then petrifies their victims at night and then returns back to their normal humanoid or creature form when the sun rises. A little bit like a werewolf transformation, I guess. The only difference is that I've just essentially created a were basilisk, haven't I? It just occurred to me now. Okay, all right. So were basilisk, people.
Well, you could detach it from like the phases of the moon or whatever.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
a cool idea. And the victim maybe doesn't even remember that they turned into that.
Yeah, I had pulled that idea after watching a whole lot of too much of stuff on what is Voldemort's snake, Nagari,
Snaky.
Slytherin?
Snaky. I think it was Nagari.
Snake Eyes?
Nagari actually started off as a woman who turned into a snake fully, and so I was like, I wonder if we can kind of play
So
with
related
that
to a
concept.
naga.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna
I
say it just
guess
sounds
so.
like Naga and then put Re at the end.
Yeah.
Interesting question. Do you guys know what consistency of stone you turn into? Is it a chalky substance? Is it a rocky substance? Is it like marble?
In
How tough
D&D,
is
it must be an extremely dense stone because the petrified condition says your weight increases by a factor of 10.
Wow.
Well,
So
I've
you're
lifted
gonna weigh
some.
like 1,000,
some-
2,000 pounds.
That's definitely not as dense as marble because marble is really heavy.
I don't know.
That's why you quite often see marble statues with fingers broken off. That's just from it falling and nobody being able to catch it, because you don't want to be between the marble and the ground when it starts falling. You get perforated.
What if they wind up transforming into sort of a chalky stone, and then everybody just comes along?
Well, it would make sense
scrapes
if
it
the
off and use it as for drawing.
because the basilisk is eating the stone person, right? So it's got to be something that they can chew through. So chalky
Pumice.
pumice.
Yeah, it's you transform everybody into pumice. Now there's plenty of things to wash yourself with.
It's like, well, our companion died, but we can sell these loofah stones that we've got now.
Or if you have like a really toxic player at your table, you can turn them into salt.
Ooh,
Like you were too salty, sorry.
I mean, why turn into? Surely some alchemist has gone and played jiggy jiggy with the basilisk's eyes to turn people into different substances with the alternative, trying to turn people into gold.
Yeah.
I love it. We could take Josiah's idea and we could have that pet, and we could just like turn a bunch of like frogs and a bunch of little creatures into stone. And you could just have like all of this, like this entire shop of all of these.
Well, because like
different
the thing too
paperweights.
I don't know. The rules are what you make eye contact with it, and it turns you to stone, right?
Gaze.
But is it instantaneous, or does it like start at a point on your body? And because if it's not instantaneous, if you
have
had like
to
a
fail,
cooperative
like a second save to fully turn all, like
right.
Yeah, it's a systemic shock thing. So it's your whole body gets affected, and then you calcify slowly, completely into stone. So I imagine it spreads out from your central mass, sort of thing.
That's the real question, yeah. Because I imagine if you had like a really cooperative troll, you could just like petrify them and then cut off the parts turning into stone before it reached the rest of their body, and then they would regrow those limbs. But if you were able to turn them into like a useful stone, then
it's like,
yeah,
well,
I got
partially turned into stone, but I've still got a bit more mobility here. Makes me, wicked for punching. That'd be, or I've got this image in my head of a basilisk, which hasn't got a line of sight with the people involved in the encounter, but there's some sturges flying overhead, and it just goes psst, and zaps the sturges, and the sturges just fall like darts from the ceiling and hit them all.
Dear. So you were referring, Josiah, to Dungeons and Donuts, eh? Because I mean, in Dungeons and Donuts, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm doing. By the time you actually petrify, like a week has passed. So
yeah,
it's pretty slow. I was actually thinking, what about if you have a basilisk and they transform you or petrify you, but they don't just petrify you and turn you into stone, they turn you into living stone. So you're no longer a flesh goblin or human or whatever the heck it is. You're now your composition is metal. You've basically been turned into the thing.
You're a golem.
You're a Galabdur.
Yeah. I like that. Very cool.
There's going to be a fifth member.
Get to rolling, Sonny.
You could have some sort of a transformed basilisk that it gives you a resistance to the elemental plane of stone.
There you go.
You transform your nature into an elemental being.
I liked whoever said the idea about a type of basilisk that turns people into gold, like an alchemical basilisk. And see, here's what I imagine. It's a temporary effect, but the characters don't know that. And their one ally gets turned into gold. They're like, oh, we loved him so much. All right, now let's hack him into bits and go buy all the wonderful gear he's wanted. And then like a couple days later, the gold turns into like chunks of bloody flesh in his hands or in his coffers.
That is straight up Lamentations of the Flame Princess 101 right there.
Or if it lasted, if the transformation lasted like even months, like maybe that gold, some of it got minted into coins, some of it got turned into jewelry, whatever. And then like 6 months later, everyone in this town who has a gold bracelet or has coins that came from that guy or whatever, it's like, what is happening?
Yeah, it turns you into a ruby-like substance, and you're just like, oh, great. It smashes into all these jewel-like bits, and then you get them set into, all sorts of stuff, and now you've got a little bit of rotten flesh. And that could play havoc with all sorts of relationships when you think about it.
Yeah.
What did you give me?
Awesome. All right. Well, for those of you that, go ahead.
I've got 3 more ideas. Do you want me to just spit them out?
You know what? I think we're on a roll. I mean, yeah, let's go for
I'll
it.
spit them out. Okay,
Give
so
us the magic missile of
Let's.
Basilisk.
I like where this conversation's going. Let's do this.
so
We're not here to piss around, man.
nah. Okay, spitting them out. Okay, so I went right back because for some reason I had an allergic reaction to Dungeons and Donuts, so I was looking at other sources as well. And I was thinking, they talk about how it's not just sort of the bite of the basilisk, or the breath of the basilisk, or the vision of the basilisk. But I was thinking, what if the actual breath that it has is so poisonous and so acidic that when it breathes on you, your flesh dissolves. But not just your flesh dissolves. Whatever it comes in contact, metal, wood, bone, it just degrades. So there's probably not going to be very much left of you if it starts. It's like the worst kind of bad breath you could possibly imagine a basilisk could have, is to just dissolve everything.
Like a
that it breathes
molecular
on.
acid disintegration breath.
Yeah, that's truly scary.
I don't know why, Fred, but I went immediately to, instead of like a stone, you'd be like mercury. And so, or you just, this molten mercury liquid, you just puddle down. I don't know why I was thinking that, but maybe it's more of a mist than a breath. I'm not sure.
And the other one, there's another one here. So there's apparently a lizard called the basilisk, and it runs on water like Jesus Christ. Okay, so literally like Jesus Christ. So I was thinking, if you can have a basilisk and it's small enough, still has all the properties of a basilisk, it's petrifying stare, the nasty bad breath, or breath and bite and so forth, but it could literally run across water, up walls, along ceilings, and really fast. It would change because isn't the basilisks from Dungeons and Donuts kind of like a sloth that's or a koala bear that's been eating eucalyptus trees? It's kind of pissed or stoned, so it doesn't actually seem to do anything very quickly. So now you've got a super fast, along water, up walls and ceilings and pretty much anything, and being able to petrify you and poison you. I thought it would be a nice sort of combination. And for those of you who like
they're
farming,
slow. Which is weird because they have eight legs.
Yeah.
I think they'd be fast.
Yeah.
But no, they got
Maybe they're
move speed.
maybe they're all left legs.
What if
Well, it only
I have
moves in
8 left.
circles.
I have 8 left feet. I can't go anywhere.
what if its petrifying gaze in that instance is only temporary and it lasts as long as it's looking at the thing that it's looking at? And that's like how it runs across the waters. If it looks down, it turns the surface of the water into like a stone like slab that it can step off of, and by the time it moves on, it's like has turned back into water.
I like it. I like
Like
it.
the opposite.
I
effect
like
of
it.
Those ghosts in Mario.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
that's good. That's good.
and the last one I had was if you're an assassin, like if you can actually. I can't even imagine how would you milk a basilisk for its poison.
Okay, there we
It's
go.
not like,
Very carefully.
it's not really like milking a cow, really, is it? I mean, you've got to. I mean, it's
Get
like,
a quickling to do it.
yeah, really long tongs, or with a visor, so you can't actually see anything. Like, where is it? And then farm it out, put it in bottle it up, and use that as your new product for selling to assassins, or some sort
Good
of
luck
assassin.
finding the nipples on an 8-legged creature.
Yeah.
Yeah, with your eyes closed, with a pair of tongs about 2 or 3 meters long.
And once again, I can see that coming out like mercury. It'd just be like. All right, that's why that one was your last choice. I imagine. Save the best for last.
Strong note to end on.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. If you are watching this video on repeat or replay or however that works, be sure to leave a comment below and let us know how you would use a basilisk in your game. And I do want to say thanks to chat. There are a lot of folks here. Thank you very much for joining us. This is awesome. We've got 3 more monsters yet to go. We're having a lot of fun with monsters today, so should be good times. Hold on to your hats. It's just going to get more crazier from here. What I would like to do is, instead of just going in reverse order, I just want to skip to so we can kind of
Just like
I don't
bump it down.
Yeah, so from AJ, so Esper, would you mind leading us off on this one? So then we'll go Esper, then myself, then Fred, then AJ, and then Josiah.
Go for it.
All
What
right.
are we on now?
So now we are going to talk about the Banshee. What fun, crazy, or stories do you have for us, Esper, on the Banshee?
Mm-hmm. I don't think this was 5e. I believe it was 4e. Maybe 3. I don't remember. It was years ago, so my memory's kind of hazy. But the feeling and the challenges of it all really stuck with me. So the party had a gothic horror styled adventure in the midst of their campaign, and they went to this old elven castle, a ruined castle, and it was full of ghosts, some of which were banshees, and the ghosts were going about their daily activities, and the characters at first thought, okay, here we go, we're gonna roll for initiative and fight ghosts and turn undead and such. But the ghosts were not hostile, not immediately at least, and there were quite a few of them, a number of which were banshees, mind you. And so they quickly deduced, no, this would be a very bad idea if we rile up all these ghosts. And what they learned is that if the ghost would talk to them, interact with them, and if the characters mentioned that the ghost was a ghost, because the ghost didn't realize they were dead, they thought they were just going about their regular daily castle affairs. But if the characters mentioned you're dead, or how did you die, or how did this happen to you, the ghost would have this, what do we call it, psychic interference and freak out and do the banshee scream and potentially kill players, which that kind of freaks them out. They don't like that. So it actually turned out to be the whole castle was all skill challenge and using wits and cunning and a little bit of spells to find out what each individual ghost needed resolved in order for it to pass on. It was really pretty cool because like each room had its own little story. And again, it's hazy, but think of it kind of like Clue, like the butler down in the parlor had some fetter or some bond that kept him in this perpetual state, and you had to investigate and find out what happened to him. I don't know if this is like an official characteristic of Gothic stories, but there always seems to be this investigation element with Gothic things, like an investigative mystery, and there's always some kind of a philosophical or spiritual struggle at the heart of the mystery. But yeah, that's it. That'll always stay with me, even if the details of it have gone fuzzy.
I like it. It's going to be able to at least recollect some of it, and you have a great voice for a Halloween or a ghost type story. That's for sure. Do you run Halloween one shots by any chance with like ghosts and things like that?
Not regularly. I have before. Like we ran Curse of Strahd on this one Halloween, and that was really cool. And we even like turned out the lights and lit candles for a bit of it.
Oh, nice. Very cool. I think the Banshee.
No, usually I'm out on the street with the ghosts and goblins and trick or treating and going to scary houses and stuff. Yeah,
I don't blame you. I like the Banshee. You can definitely play it in a horror type scenario, but I don't have that for you today. What I have for you today is kind of a touchy feel good story, and then a funny one, because I can't end on just touchy feel good story. So first one is, speaking of touchy feel good story, is the adventurers are going to be hired for this quest because the local library has lost 3 librarians in the past 2 weeks. And on investigation of where they were laying, they were working late at night. They were the only ones there. They found them motionless the next day with an arrow in the dust of the floor pointing to him, just saying, "I'm sorry." And so the adventurers are hired to go in there and spend the night, more or less, in this library. And on one of the nights, they're going to see a book come off the shelf, and in a nice, comfortable velvet-colored chair, they're going to see a ghost appear. This is going to be our Banshee. And she has this book opened up. There's a little bit of ghost coffee off to the side, a little bit of ghost lamp giving her some light. And depending on what the adventurers do, it's hard to say, but she's going to be reading this book and she's just going to look up and she's going to smile at him, give him a little wave, and then go back to her book. And then she's going to flip the page and she's going to scream, letting out that wail that will kill someone if you don't make that saving throw. And then she's going to disappear. So when the adventurers take a look at this book, it comes to a very sad part in the story and it's unfinished. So what they would need to do if they want to help this Banshee without killing it, so it would be perfect for lower level characters, they would need to go find this author, ask him to finish writing this book, put it on the shelf. She would read all the way through it, close the book, smile, say thank you, and get her ghost ass out of there. Now that's the touchy good feel story. Now the funny one I thought of is maybe something a little bit more modern. So we just had the World Cup last year, big old soccer thing. So if soccer or a contact or some type of a team sport is in your world, then perhaps there's a team out there called the Banshees. And at least a dozen, maybe 2 dozen, I don't know, go nuts. But these Banshees are like, hey, there's a team named after us. Let's start watching them. And then the first time they watch them, the Banshees lose and they all let out this wail and kills half the audience. So now every team that plays the Banshees know that they have to throw the game, because if they don't, then the Banshees are going to get upset. They're going to let out this wail and everybody's going to die. So Banshees win the World Cup. That's all I got.
Okay. I'm usually the one that says something and then everybody dies. But you've got it in there first. Well done. I like the fact that Esper managed to go with the Banshee is basically somebody who has something that needs to be resolved after they've perished, and then Wally managed to combine puzzles with his Banshee as well. So it actually kind of works quite well. And it's apparently not something that Dungeons and Donuts had suggested. So no, not at all. I'm going to go right back. I decided to go look at all of the stuff on Irish folklore and the Banshee. And I think the thing that I really liked, yes, I bet you did. And I really like the idea that the Banshee is there as a spiritual creature that predicts when somebody is going to die. And it's really just a warning. And their purpose is not necessarily to kill them, but to help prepare them for their death, so that they can, journey from, the material and physical world to the afterlife. And so I really liked that as a story. It's not the sort of story that a lot of people wind up encountering when they're playing role-playing games. It doesn't seem to sort of come up that often. But I think it's the most endearing story and way of using a Banshee, given all of the stuff that we get thrown at us. I actually think going right back to the Irish folklore is probably, I think it had more substance, frankly. Yeah.
Could be a harbinger at the entrance of a dungeon. If you step into the maze of insanity, I foresee your doom.
Turn back now. Certain death awaits you.
Oh, shut up. I haven't said it in so long.
That was perfect Hoggle.
That was good. I like that. I was tuning in.
Hoggle is Hoggle's friend.
Ooh, plastic.
And with that, AJ, what do you have for us, Banshee?
Oh, so much. So first of all, the legend of the Banshee really is the thing. That video game, Left 4 Dead, and they got the crying witch version, and you hear that sobbing, and your hackles are up, you're on edge, because as soon as it starts screaming, it's all over. Everybody's in deep trouble, and this thing just attacks you like a maniac. I very much like the idea of the dead not being aware that they're dead, because they're essentially an echo being contained by the ethereal plane, on the border ethereal plane. So on the border ethereal, you can be an ethereal archaeologist, for instance, because there's echoes of the past in the ethereal. So I like actually encountering banshees in the ethereal plane, not the physical plane. because they're wandering around in the echoes of the past, which is slowly fading away. And at the same time, they're slowly fading away, but it's their arrogance and ego and the wrapped up narcissism of their death, which is actually holding them to the material plane. They're just unwilling to let go of their physical form because it meant so much to them. In folklore, of course, it's just any fey spirit. It's got nothing to do with Dungeons and Donuts elven stuff. That's all entirely that game. It's got nothing really to do with the mythology. So they're definitely a fey creature. And fey creatures, of course, are all about story. Story is like gravity to creatures in the Feywild. It's inescapable. It's their fate. They're locked into it. Much like in the movie Labyrinth, Jared, the Goblin King, was as locked into the story as anybody else. He couldn't escape from the labyrinth either. So, and he said, in the end, you have all the power. Like, I don't. You know, you're the one who started this story. I'm just a part of the story, and you can close the book, and I go away. And anytime you need us back again, just open the book up. We're right here. So that's the Feywild to you. It's sort of wrapped up into these objects and things. So the Banshee may be located and fixed on a mirror, or some sort of object which starts this whole story. It's tied to some sort of an anchor. So it's almost like the story is the curse of the Feywild. And of course, any Fey creature is dreamlike. So you may actually forget that you encountered the Banshee at all. So it's the thing that you encountered at the entrance to get into this place, but you don't remember that it was there. So every time you try and exit the dungeon, you're going through the same thing again, and wondering why you're losing sanity points as you go. If that's what you like. The other thing is also, it's very easy to fake the legend of a Banshee. South American death whistles, for instance, were very effective screaming sounds that they would push through these whistle things, which would make a terrifying wall of sound as the army would approach you. And it's the legend of these things being able to kill you just by hearing it. So you can protect your manse or manor or ruin or secret laboratory with building up this secret of a Banshee. All you got to do is kill a few peasants and livestock and scatter them around, and then have a whistle going off every now and then. You're safe and secure until an exorcist shows up, and then they're going to get crossbow bolts. That's not what they were expecting. That's it.
I like that you're riffing off of Labyrinth, man. That movie had a tremendous impact on me as a child.
That's when I need to go back
I
and
guess
watch.
that means
Yes, it does mean.
what, Labyrinth?
Yeah. I remember seeing it a long time ago, but I don't remember anything of it because that was.
There is an Labyrinth RPG, by the way, people.
Oh wow!
There is. I haven't played it. I want to
Really?
play it so bad.
Wow.
Based off of
Looks
Jim
cool.
Henson's Labyrinth movie.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Interesting.
let's get real.
I did a
Wally,
campaign
you do
inspired
remember.
by it. I would definitely
Do I?
check out that RPG.
You do remember something from Labyrinth. Everybody remembers Jennifer. Okay, let's get real. Okay, everybody remembers. Everybody
was
remembers
my-
Ogle, and
that was
everybody
my,
remembers Jennifer. Okay.
Everybody
celebrity
remembers
crush when I
David
was-
Bowie's crotch, that's for sure.
All
I
right, Josiah, what do you have for us?
You can get us back here in about 2 years,
Um,
Sarah, when you need me. Something back to your room anytime.
David
Yeah,
Bowie,
the-
what do you got? I mean,
Dude, yeah, that happens all the time. No, it's okay.
The resemblance is just uncanny.
I know. I know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have makeup on right now, but yeah.
It's your crooked teeth. That's what does it, really.
Yeah. But yeah, I kind of going in the same direction as what Esper was saying with, Banshees. They don't often know they're dead, or at the very least, they, in some tellings of the tale, hate. I guess this ties in with what we were just talking about with basilisks, but they hate mirrored surfaces because it reveals to themselves, like, oh, this is what you actually look like. You're a horrible undead creature, which makes them freak out a little bit. So I was thinking a really common trope in fantasy is like the evil wizard or whoever that's kidnapped the princess or the fair maiden or whatever, and you got to go save them. It's like, okay, but why? Like, to what end? Well, I think that if you're a powerful necromancer, a great way to bolster the defenses of your horrible crypt is to kidnap these people and then just murder them in horrific ways, turning them into banshees, which are now bound to the location of their murder, which just happens to be the perimeter of your sepulcher or whatever. And if you really want to go ham, you just cover the place with like mirrored surfaces. You just enchant big flat rocks everywhere, so there are mirrored surfaces. So basically, swirling around your lair now, you just have a myriad of screaming banshees that are just always in a state of being worked up because of the constant confrontation with their own demise. That's maybe one of like the worst things you could do to another person in a fantasy setting, but it's definitely something that if you are an evil necromancer, it all works out. It checks out. You just would have to be careful not to step outside without your ear protection. Wear your PPE, people. It's important. You don't want to damage your hearing or get murdered by the wailing of 1,000 banshees. But I mean, yeah,
occupational undead safety is important.
it's very, very important. And yeah, if you are an adventurer going into that kind of environment where it's like we have to save this person before they get turned into a banshee, it's like, well, that's pretty compelling. It gives you a ticking clock element to your rescue mission.
That does inspire an idea of a dungeon specifically made to kill you and turn you into a specific type of undead. Like you go down this corridor, the dungeon maker is trying to turn you into an Alip. You go down, there's lots of hidden texts and stuff. You go down this corridor, you're going to turn into a Bodak. You go down this corridor, it's Banshees. This corridor, it's Wraiths. You know, this corridor, zombies.
Then lurking in the dungeon is a Revenant. That was like a mishap. It didn't turn into the thing that
that's the dungeon maker.
Wanted. And the player characters could encounter the Revenant. Yeah,
he was killed by a he was killed by an evil necromancer. Now he's turning everyone into
Let us wreak our vengeance together. I will aid you.
Immediately, I'm looking for a way to go up or down. I'm not going any of those directions at all. No way.
It's all bad. Every option is bad. I do like the idea of incorporeal undead trapped inside special stone inside walls, which are covered in glyphs and stuff. And you think that rubbing out the glyph is the way to deactivate the trap, but in actual fact, it lets the wraith out of the stone.
I've had more than one dungeon where the characters are like, "Oh, there's this great seal on the wall. We got to break it." Oh shit! Actually, that was put there for a reason. Now the demons are pouring forth, and we've just opened up a portal to the abyss.
It's also a really logically consistent reason to put a lowered down CR creature, so like a degenerated creature which is incorporeal and it's been stuck in solid stone for a long time. So it's like being damaged by being in that stone, so it comes out in a weakened state anyway. But it's just as impressive, like, it's a master lich, or it's something like that. But in actual fact, it's just decrepit.
Love it. I love it. Josiah said something about PPE as far as like hearing protection. Now, like with Medusas and Basilisks and stuff like that, characters are always like, I'm getting out my mirror and I'm going to attack it like this without even looking. What would any of you do as far as a DM? Would you allow them to like stuff crap in their ears? I mean, would it affect them? Would they only get like half dead if they can only half hear or something? Or
you just play Kate Bush on repeat. We know this.
Oh,
the party bard is like, keep playing all the time.
I feel like it's orders of magnitude, right? Like if you have a spell like silence or something cast where you just can't hear anything, then yeah, I don't think it affects you.
What?
I would say if you just stuff
good
your
talking
ears
to him, can't hear a thing.
Everybody at the table has to communicate in sign language.
Blah,
Absolutely.
blah, blah. That's all you could ever say.
I've run encounters like that before where there's some type of hearing based effect and the players just have to communicate with each other by pantomiming stuff if they want to have their silence up, or if they just stuff their ears with cotton or something. I mean, that's not going to be 100% effective, but I would at least give them, if we're talking D&D terms, advantage on the saving throw or some kind of bonus to resist dying or whatever happens in the
interesting.
Just picture being a fly on the wall at a convention or something like that, and that sort of situation is going down, and all of a sudden the table of role players goes completely silent, and they're starting frantically passing notes, and the DM writes down the note, passes it to the other player writes a big note, holds it up, says, "It's behind you," and the other person is like frantic passing notes, rolling dice.
I love it. In the chat, Stephen wrote, "Remind me when I cast deafness on myself when dealing with a false Hydra."
Yeah, false hydra is a great example of that exact time when you want to do that, or just casting silence.
Nice.
If you're not familiar with the false Hydra, it's about the closest you can get to a Lovecraftian encounter in D&D. That is just you're doomed. You're doomed.
Somebody should make a video about that.
Oh
Yeah.
God,
That would
not
be a great
again.
topic. That would be a great topic for a video. Someone should make a video.
Oh come on, Josiah, you've made 2 of them now. Just people-
No, I've never heard a false Hydra.
Oh
Ever.
yes,
Who's Josiah?
I've watched yours as well.
Yeah. Are you guys good to go on to the next, or you want to take a break or
I've
anything?
got-
you got
2
more.
I've got 2.
Okay.
Because you know me, I
Okay.
always make lists,
All right, Fred.
and I'm always expecting,
All right.
since I've got AJ, Josiah, and Esper to wind up with nothing left. So I'm
Yeah.
always over preparing. It's funny you mentioned the noise, because I've had players say, "Yeah, can I just stick something in my ears?" And I've said yes. And then I remember one day I had said to them, "Yeah, but how are you going to seal it up? You're going to push cloth, you're going to rip off a piece of cloth off your clothing and shove it in your ears. How's it going to kind of properly seal it up?" And they said, "I've got some wax. I'll put some wax on here." Yeah, you've got time. There was a time when they didn't have time to like get out a candle and get a piece of cloth and do it. And they stuck it in their mouth, then shoved it in the ear. And you know how I am about mundane equipment. I would prefer something to be effective with mundane equipment over magic if I can get away with it. So I said, sure. And they said, "Do I have advantage or disadvantage in any way?" And I said, "No, it works perfectly fine." Guess what? You can actually play the game without rolling dice. So I was thinking a family protector. Banshee would actually make sense, that it's, if you have somebody from a long-standing family that have perished for some reason, maybe they are a victim of a crime or something like that, or whatever it is.
Or going to be. One of the things with the mythology of the Banshee is that it's a wailing spirit that foretells doom.
Yeah.
The wail itself isn't necessarily the doom.
Yeah. So I was thinking it would be kind of cool if the Banshee spirit itself is actually there to protect a particular family from, say, intruders or any kind of harm that might be somebody might be trying to inflict on them. So it's more of a protector rather than a monster that you have to worry about in terms of protecting a tomb or a location.
Or even so, it's like it could be like an alarm signal that goes off. So you disturb the tomb, and the Banshee goes, "Rah!" And then the mummies start to wake up.
Yeah. And the thing about adventuring parties, right, player characters, is they always like to go in places they shouldn't go. So if you walk into this manor, I'm just going to go while nobody's home and go and steal all their stuff, because anything that's lying around belongs to me, because I'm an adventurer, right, playing a role-playing game or Dungeons and Donuts. I'm going to take whatever I can find. Well, no, there's a Banshee at home. It's like the pet dog, but better. You don't have to feed it, okay? It doesn't leave hair everywhere. Yes, so... And the other one, I was thinking...
Fred, before you move on, can I just show you the images you just gave me? This is exactly what I'm thinking. So you're telling me about this family protector. So immediately I'm going grandma. Okay. So grandma's family protector, she's a Banshee. She's sitting in her chair, rocking back and forth. Adventurers come in. They don't see her, but the kids do. She's got all of her grandchildren sitting around. They're all enjoying this story. And these intruders come in, and she just looks at the kids and say, "Kids, earmuffs." And they're like, and then she lets out her wail. I think that'd be hilarious. Earmuffs.
The first ghost that you see in Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters, is a Banshee.
Yes.
Straight up. It's
I'm glad
an
you
old
brought that
woman
up.
with white hair that transforms and screams and scares the shit out of them.
Scared the shit out of me.
Banshee. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, Fred.
Something
the
to
soiled
bear in
armor
mind
condition.
when we go to Ghostbusters, people. Ghostbusters should never be a comedy or an action story. It's a horror. It's a horror, people. It's a horror. There are funny elements. It should be a horror. Anyway.
That you did not do me any favors. I've been trying to get my mum to watch that movie. She's like, "I don't watch horror films." I said, "It's a comedy."
It's not really.
My wife couldn't
I
finish it.
remember
Thought
watching it.
was
I was
too scary.
terrified.
I was pretty scared by it when I was like 6 years old.
I'm still scared of the dark. So, I'm 51. I still have problems. So I was thinking about a Banshee appears mostly as a crow. So there was some stuff I found about how The
Prone.
Banshee doesn't necessarily present itself as sort of like a wailing or an old woman or a young woman who's sort of slimmed down or anorexic or anything like that, or sort of, very thin and spindly. Maybe it takes up on the form of a crow. And I was thinking, can you imagine a Banshee who transforms themselves into a crow and
Crow.
then winds up feeding on the family food scraps? And then occasionally, because you know what crows are like, they like shiny things. So there's a whole lot of personal items that they take back to their nest or to the Banshee's lair or whatever the heck it is, if they've got one. And so, yes, who knows where you might find your various pieces of jewelry floating around if you go hunting. That was
Nice.
my last idea.
Very good.
It's kind of like an annoying bird, actually.
No, Nick, I have not read the Ghostbusters RPG. Is it good?
I seen that Ted.
Banshee can be associated with the owl as well.
Really? How's
If I'm
that?
not mistaken. I think so. Yeah, I think the owl also is a harbinger of death.
That's
In
kinda
New
cool.
Zealand, the fantail is if it flies inside your house, it tells you that somebody in your family is dying or died.
Did you say fantail?
Fantail. It's like a little finch
the big- like the big-
that fans its tail out to catch insects in midair.
That's
They're
really
very
cool.
cute. They make like a sound like a.
I'm going to check out.
squeaky-
That is an
squeaky sound.
animal I am yet unaware of.
I really should be taking more notes tonight.
It's from New Zealand, so it's obviously a
Oh.
cute thing.
Very good.
It's
It's for-
completely cute and precious, but it does have like 3 different kinds of poison that'll kill you.
Yeah, if it touches you, you'll die instantly.
The Ghostbusters.
The cockatrice is that one.
Like,
Oh, the cockatrice. Yeah.
yeah.
What's worse, a cockatrice or a basilisk? Which one would you rather?
I'd say cockatrice because chickens are crazy in the first place. But if you've ever seen a Komodo dragon that's got the scent of meat, they transform into terrifying creatures. They go from sluggish and slow to racing after you.
Mm.
Ooh, super chat.
They just
Holy-
that lizard
holy
run.
smokes. Hey, huge shout out. Hey, thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate this super chat. That's awesome. Hope you are all having a better year than any of you can imagine. Be safe. Thank you. Be safe as well. Hopefully you're having a good year. Started off a little rocky, but it's getting gooder.
Right back at you.
I think this year's great.
Cool. Thank you very much, Steve. I appreciate it. The Ghostbusters RPG, I did see, I think Ted from Nerd Immersion was looking at that, so he may do some videos on it. How are you guys doing? Do you want a break at this point? We're at the halfway point as far as monster discussions going, or do you want to keep on rolling through?
Good.
Cool. All right. If you are watching this video on repeat or replay or whatever the terminology is, I don't know because I don't do many live streams. Be sure to leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts on the Banshee. That'd be awesome. And also, before we do jump to the next section, I do want to say thank you very much. Seen a lot of people subscribe out there. I appreciate it. Thank you. And it's awesome. Feels good for us all to hang out. It's really cool.
Hell yeah.
Talk about some monsters, having some fun.
Yeah, it is really cool seeing you guys. I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like I've been so out of touch, like I've been absorbed by a giant gelatinous cube for months.
That gelatinous
And
cube
Wally,
looked like a book.
I never thought about like mentioning to people to subscribe during a live stream. I guess I just always assumed only my subscribers watch my live streams. So
That's
you
true.
have
Everyone should
taught me.
subscribe to Wally.
Yeah. I-
Steve, I absolutely am going to be covering Teenage
I
Mutant
will
Ninja Turtles
unsubscribe
RPG
and
and all things
resubscribe to
related.
you right now, Wally.
Thank you, Esper. I appreciate it. You'll show up in my recently subscribed list. That's awesome. That's super cool. I was going to say something. I didn't forget.
Hey, thanks, William.
Oh my goodness. Hey, cool. Another super chat. Thank you, Sir William. Appreciate it. The incarnations. I can't read without my glasses. The
You
incarnations.
can't read that
of the-
anyway because it's in Welsh.
all right.
It's in Celt.
All right. But thank you for the super chat. Much appreciated.
So
And-
he's talking about the raven and the barn owl as being, and the crow as being associated with incarnations of the Morrigan.
And Dungeon Dad, a member of the channel. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Dungeon
Who's
Papa
that?
on Twitter. Not Dungeon
because
Dad.
some loser with a suspended account has Dungeon Dad
I-
and has had it for like 10 years.
I forgot that. I put that name in there, and apparently Wally pointed it out to me just before we went live. I was like, oops.
Oh, too funny. Let's go ahead and move on. And let's see here. Esper started last time, so we'll go to the front. So this is going to be Fred starting us off, and probably Fred ending with his remaining ideas that weren't selected. So, Fred, question for you to start us all off on is the Hellhound. What are some fun and crazy ways that you would use a Hellhound? And thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. I see you. Thanks.
Well, since we were talking about the Ghostbusters, I would like to remind people that there were kind of like Hellhounds. Yeah, there are Hellhounds in Ghostbusters. Two of them, the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper, right? So,
Who brought the dog?
yeah, or is the bear or the something? Why not consider the idea of your Hellhounds? And apparently, it's not just Ghostbusters. It does go back to other bits of pieces that are floating out there about Hellhounds, that they can possess the living, and their purpose behind possessing the living is to, I guess, take part in some sort of evil purpose, usually to do with death or the underworld or taking over the world. So yeah, the reason that those two strange dogs, or that strange dog that you picked up, who's named Cujo, is actually trying to possess your little child, so that it can then take over the family, drive wherever it likes to go, whenever it wants to go, and then eventually grow up and become a one of those billionaires, corporate mongrel, something like that. So yes, the Hellhound as something that actually possesses the living and then takes them over as a. I know it's like I just taken the ghost and planted it all over a Hellhound. Okay, I'm done.
That's fine. You said Cujo. Now, speaking of movies from childhood that scared the crap out of me, I don't think I made it like 20 minutes into that thing. That was very good.
Cujo's a good boy.
Yeah. So from Fred, we will go to AJ. What do you have for us on the Hellhound?
I'm just looking at all the different versions of hell. For instance, in Chinese mythology, it's located in Sichuan province. I couldn't make this up if I tried. 8 different departments. It's very bureaucratic. The Hindu hell's got 28 different realms. So it's a busy bit
It
of
doesn't
folklore.
have quite the same ring to it though as the 9.
As the 9 hells. Well, Japanese.
I will send you to the 28 hells. Gosh, man, that just sounds tedious.
Japanese have got each of 8 hells with 16 parts.
Can you imagine the elevator and somebody gets on, just presses all the buttons? So it's 28 hells. So you got to stop at each one on the way down.
That's the first level of hell.
Yeah, now stopping at embezzlement, impalement, haberdashery.
Man who make mistake in elevator is wrong on many levels.
One of my favorite depictions of the Hellhound was in the Supernatural series, where they're basically invisible. And that was the whole thing. Just this invisible big monster that would tear apart crap. You can hear it, you just can't see it. And it's terrifying. Being chased by something you can't see. They never reveal the true form of the Hellhound, but it's bad, and it's big, and it can go through walls and stuff. And just the idea of this creature, which is inherently lawful evil, because like Dobermans are very lawful evil. Like, I know there's a lot of people with very nice Dobermans, but if you've ever been on the wrong end of a Doberman, they're very smart and they're very cruel and very patient. So I always think of a Doberman being that sleek, nasty, sneak up and then nab you sort of thing, and then drag you back off to the 9 hells and deposit you in the worst possible place. Yeah. And also, and if you're in the 9 hells, there are packs of hellhounds, and they feed on the larvae, the maggots and stuff, like the infernal souls who are bubbling away, the lemures and the niparibos and that sort of stuff. And are they native to the hells originally? Were they imported? Were they creatures that became adapted to the 9 hells, or are they just manifestations of the 9 hells itself? So they're nothing really like a dog. They're just quadrupeds, but they look like human, twisted and morphed into some dog-like shape, something really horrific, like Geiger-esque,
When you first started that last little bit, you said if you're in the 9 hells, I was thinking like hey, if you're ever in the Nine Hells, stop by and see blah, blah, blah. And then you mentioned all that bad stuff. I was like expecting a recommendation and then, oh, the mirrors and all that. No,
There's this pizza place on the corner of 3rd and 7.
extra
Well, if you-
spicy.
There's a couple of urban locations. With one is the home of all the Chitons, the Chain Devils, because they're a force into and of themselves, particularly in Pathfinder. And also the city of Dis is in the Nine Hells as well, the Iron City, which is a very weird subdimensional realm where you're either outside of Dis or you're in Dis. There's no in between. So you're either in Dis or out of Dis.
Interesting.
Hard to believe
What
this.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a diss track.
Yeah. This
I'm just enjoying hearing AJ pronounce all these names of monsters that I never hear anyone say out loud, like Alip and Neperibo. I don't know how to say these things.
Right.
I think I always said Alip.
I should do a
Alip,
glossary.
Maybe Alip.
My final
Alip
parting shot
and
to D&D is
Neperibo.
is a glossary of terms. Yeah.
I've
made a joke
listened
once.
to a lot of those before. I mean, they're like little 4-second clips, and you could say it. That would be amazing. That'd be so helpful. Really would. Very good.
The classic debate is boulette and boulet.
Oh, it's definitely Boulay. It's definitely Boulay. Because just talk to
I'm
Tim
a
Kask.
boulette guy
Tim
myself
Kask
personally, but that's my
Boulette.
invented
try
the
to follow
Boulay.
the
He
rules
still
of the
owns
language.
the Boulay. He never signed over the contract to the Boulay. The Boulay is Tim Kask's property.
Yeah, that's true. He does claim as boulet, but if it was boulet, it would end with just et, just like ballet or buffet. If it ends withette, it has an et sound like cigarette or barrette or brunette.
But the context of why they named it in the first place is because they were poking shit at the French.
So it's not bullet.
Anti-French sentiment was very...
Well, et is a diminutive of in the French, like brunette's like little brown, and cigarette is like a little cigar. So
Yeah, but
boulette
the idea
would
is
be like a
it
little
comes down the
bullet.
corridor at you like a bullet. That's the
Yeah.
idea. It's the boulette, or the boulet, as they call it, mockingly.
I have no idea what's going on.
something created
I'll play-
before
I'll
the
play when
internet
you-
existed. and
Take
you can
control,
Google
Wally.
it.
Take control. You've lost control of the table.
I mean, we could tie it back in and say, why not have a hell boulet?
Or a
A
boulet hound.
flaming creme.
Guards the hell bidet.
Hellbillet.
Josiah, what do you have for us? Bullets. I mean, not bullets. Hellhounds. What monster are we on?
I don't
Hellhounds.
know.
Let's go Hellhounds.
Spellweavers.
In the
Okay.
28 levels of hell.
So the first thing that came to mind with hellhounds for me, because they're fiends and they live in hell, they're not technically devils, but I would be willing to extend them the courtesy of having a true name, like most things do. And that's a big thing in like fantasy in general, is if you know the true name of a devil or a fiend of some kind, you can control them. So I like the idea of a guy who's just a hunter of some kind. Maybe he's even like a fiend hunter or something, but just a character who has a pack of hellhounds, but he uses them for good, but he can control them because he knows all their true names. So he's like, oh, that's Lassie. Like, and as long as I call them Lassie, they have to do what I say. And like, if he issues them commands like, yeah, you can't kill innocent people or whatever, then that enables him to
True
do
names
so.
could actually be like hound noises, like his name is and his name is
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that was my big thought there, like, was to just have a character who has the true names of a bunch of hellhounds and uses them for non-traditionally evil means, like how you would normally see hellhounds used. I don't know, maybe he's just a
fetches the
retired.
morning paper, the Daily Inferno.
yeah.
Was it the movie Zootopia where the all the dogs were like always paranoid about like don't start a howl and they all have to join in the howl if the howl starts? You could do that with
Yeah.
hellhounds too, but it's like it's a mixed bag because one, you've gotten rid of the problem of the hellhounds temporarily because they're all involved in the howl, but it's calling all the other hellhounds within miles to your location, so you're in deep trouble.
Oh, too funny.
Anyways,
I bet.
yeah, that's what I
Alrighty.
got for you.
Very good. Very good.
Thanks for letting us know, Triceratops, that we should not clap next to our microphones.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much. I don't know if I did or not. I did, my apologies. I've been muting myself on and off so much I don't even know where the heck I am anymore. That's level 3 of hell.
Hellhound Sledgedog team. That's fantastic.
Esper, what do you have for us for Hellhounds? What's your thoughts?
I only have one real memorable moment that I've used a Hellhound. I've used them a number of times, but only one that was memorable for me. And I found they actually worked out pretty good as a high level encounter, which people don't typically think of that with Hellhound because they're a lower CR monster. They're like CR3. But I found it was a really cool encounter, and they were quite high level characters, like well into the teens. And I had an encounter that had a lot of Hellhounds in it because since the characters are so high level, I could have a bunch of Hellhounds and it still kind of fit within the CR, the encounter building parameters. And they worked quite well because, if I would have put them up against a bunch of ogres or basic minotaurs or something, they would have just missed the player characters with all their attacks. But the Hellhounds, they've got that breath of flame, which is actually 6d6 damage, and you still take half on a save. So it's not a terrible amount of damage. And usually characters at that high level are quite mobile. They've all got some kind of magic item or feat or spell or something that makes them pretty fast. And the Hellhounds are decently fast. They're pretty mobile. So it worked out well. The hounds were able to run in and spread out and not get hit in the not too many of them get hit in the area blasts of the character's spells, and they could reach the characters pretty easily. And 3 or 4 Hellhounds on one character blasting him with 24d6 of fire. That was pretty good. So I liked them for a high level encounter.
Yeah, Hellhounds are very much underestimated with that breath weapon. 100%.
I mean, they have to roll to get it back, but they're not really going to survive more than a couple rounds
No.
anyways. So it's just cool. I liked it.
Yeah, I dig it. It looks like I am next on the board. And so I figured out, because I don't stream very often, that I have to actually mute in 2 places. I have to mute in OBS and I have to mute on Zoom.
Don't you
And
love that?
yeah, so my apologies
Yeah.
for clapping with the microphone on still. Didn't even realize it.
That loud belch you made earlier was
Oh, that wasn't
quite
me.
melodious.
That's the Banshee that's been sitting over here.
Oh, okay.
I guess I
Blame it
will.
on the Banshee.
Yeah, it's the Banshee's fault. I will possibly end this round for us. So with the Hellhound, I'm thinking going way outside the norm. And Hellhounds are commonly pets of fire giants. And so I am going to start my story off with a Hellhound puppy. And this puppy was not accepted by the fire giants because it looked different. It wasn't the same. It was the runt of the litter. Let's go with that. It was the runt of the litter. And they just didn't think that it was going to be good enough. Little did they know this little puppy was probably going to be the best damn Hellhound they ever seen in their damn life. And that is the one that the adventurers found. And they're going to take it in because it doesn't even look like a Hellhound. They don't even realize that it's a fiend. And they take it in and make it a pet. And they, over the course of a campaign, a Hellhound little puppy might get away a little bit, and they'll have neighbors coming by saying, "Look what your dog did to my chickens," and it's going to be extra crispy in a bucket. And things are going to go from that. The Hellhound may sleep at the end of the bed. That may catch fire one night or something along those lines. And then once it starts getting bigger, which it's going to do at a rapid rate, they're going to cast their spells with fire. And like a dog will, it will try to jump and grab it like it's a frisbee. And they'll see a firebolt go and jump at it and try to eat it or something like that, and give some type of disadvantage or penalty to their attack because the Hellhound is getting in the way. But of course, I want to end that with, there's going to be one day when the fire giants realize that the characters are in possession of this Hellhound, and they're going to come looking for it with all of its brothers and sisters. I think that would be a lot of fun. What happens when that day comes?
Or they send a missive off to the frost giants who collect all the metal for them from their raids, and say, "Hey, go and retrieve our Hellhound. Use your frost powers to neutralize its flames."
Nice. Very good.
I see where that went. The ugly duckling, the ugly hellhound. I could see the similarities. I feel that's where you've got it from.
Like
I
the
just like-
reverse, it's the too pretty hellhound.
Too pretty, too pretty, too
I just
pretty.
like puppies. I like dogs.
Yeah, it
I
starts
just,
off cute and then it gets uglier as it goes. Yeah.
I'm just thinking if I had a pet hellhound and I compared it to my dog, and it was just like all the actions that my dog does, what would it do? It goes running off and it's gonna cause destruction and it's gonna jump and get in the way of things. Like,
Oh man, Cookie, the hoot beast that we had in one of our campaigns. So this is Albia that was the pet of the party that started off as a chick, essentially a hatchling. And whenever Cookie got upset about something, it was always a chunk of flesh out of one of the player characters. It was like, who this time is going to get a chunk of flesh taken out of them? I imagine the Hellhound is very similar. It's just like they'll nip you, but a nip from them is always a full-on bite, So it's a cauterized chunk of you, which is gone. Good luck.
yeah,
Like the warg riding goblins are all messed up. It's just like wargs don't mess around. They attack you with full force like you're another warg. They don't treat you nicely.
I could.
I've
I
3.
Oh yeah. Okay. I knew this was coming. All right.
Doing
The
it
floor
again,
is
Fred.
floor is yours, Fred.
All right. So tell me when I need to stop, okay? Because I will be quick
Fred,
if
you
I
have a
can.
problem.
So
You need to
Cerebus. I would like to remind you that Cerebus, the 3-headed hound, is essentially like a hellhound. That's the one that guards Hades, the entrance to Hades. Like, I mean, if you're going to have anything in a game, like sticking more heads on it, now, is there such a thing as a false Cerebus? Can we chop a head off and have more appear? Or, I mean, I don't know. I mean, the truth of the matter is, every time I've watched your false Hydra movies, Hydra videos, I never actually taken enough of the information. It's like it doesn't quite make it. But I was thinking Hydra and Cerebus combination would be quite nice. Multiple heads on that little sucker. And apparently Hellhounds weren't necessarily bad creatures. I found a reference to Hellhounds being guardians of the underworld, or the spirits who had, people who had died and become in spirit form, and they would be guides for the spirits and lead them to the underworld, or wherever they needed to go after their death. And so that their spirit would not get lost in the world somewhere and wind up sort of residing there as a ghost or a poltergeist or a banshee or anything like that, sort of leading them off after they've finished it. I like that idea a lot. And then there was another reference to if you did anything horrible to dogs during your life, the Hellhounds found out, because apparently the Hellhounds and all canines and dogs have a internet network and they communicate with each other. So when you die, if you did something horrible to a dog, you're never making it to the underworld, because your spirit will be lost in the material plane, bound to one place forever and never able to sort of escape its, where it's perished. So I kind of really like that story. That was fun. And the last one is
internet. It could be like a flea net. Like the fleas jump from one dog to the next, and like they're the hell fleas. They pass along the information. It's the gnat work.
I like it. According to mythology, of course, Cerberus is from Greek mythology, and it's the dog guarding the gates to the 9 hells. But he doesn't have 3 dog heads. He's actually a chimera with a lion, a lynx, and a sow head.
The more you know.
Is that
The more you know.
Greek or is that Dante's Divine Comedy?
That's Greek.
Is it Greek? Okay. Well, Divine Comedy must have taken from the Greek myth
I
then.
imagine so. Yeah.
Yeah.
the last one is I found a reference to a lot of stories about World War II. And I don't remember exactly where the location was, but apparently the forces between the Allies and the Germans were fighting, and this particular location was in a forested location near swamps and stuff like that. And what would happen is they would hear the howling of dogs and barking and so forth, and essentially these dogs were attacking troops and either killing them or seriously injuring them, to the point where they were adamant, the troops on both sides apparently, that there were hellhounds in the area that were hunting them down as they were trying to shoot each other and take each other out. And I think there was a lot of references around, swamp gas maybe making the noises, or the swamp gas giving off, that sulfurous smell. So dogs, it would have been normal dogs rather than the hellhounds. But I like the idea that you could have two a war between two forces, and actually the major threat is not each other trying to wipe each other out. It's actually at night when they can't see anything, and the tide and the hellhounds come for them all. I really like that idea. Probably not great if it was for you actually in that position as a soldier during World War II, but yeah, I thought I'd mention that story.
It's kind of like a battlefield version of Sharks for shipwreck survivors. So you're in Hades somewhere, and you're working your way through this desolate landscape of this is the remnants of the Blood War. So all of the combatants mostly just turn into ichor and mist and stuff and disappear. So all their equipment and trenches and stuff and war beasts are left over. And otherwise it's just packs of roving hordelings and hellhounds. And the hellhounds just come at you and then just snipe you and take you away. And then it's like a slard takes you. And then it's another hellhound, and you never quite know what's going to get you. And then something bursts out of a trapdoor in the ground and what is it? I was like, and nobody cares anymore because it's Hades. You have no emotions left in you. It's just like another one's gone. Don't bother with telling me your name, man. You'll probably be dead tomorrow.
Couple things to add. First, Sir William, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. AJ, would you read that for us? I don't know what that first word is. Bargest? Is it?
Bargas.
Bargest?
Yeah, the Bargest is
Yes.
that's the goblin curse. What is goblin?
Bargest, Black Fairy Dog's Secret of Kel's best rendition.
I think it was goblins. It's basically a supernatural
Just don't
creature.
confuse it with the Yethhound.
No.
Mm.
And of course, the Death
The
Hound was
staunch
the two-headed
opponent
creature.
of the No Hound. Yes and no.
Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. Fred, you had mentioned the couple-headed hellhounds, and I was just thinking of how much fire damage on that breath weapon could be. That sounds really, really good to me. And then you're like rolling, if that has 3 heads, you could roll for recharges, and yeah.
And don't
I like
forget,
that.
a locked door is no protection against a hellhound that can burn the handle
Yes.
straight out the door.
Absolutely. And I
Clever boy.
I don't remember what
also
else
somebody
I
mentioned Theros.
Oh, that's what it was. Yes. Yeah, we have to have our obligatory Theros mention. Josiah, anything you want to add on that? Does Theros agree with that from Richard?
I think so. I think Theros has they're not hellhounds. They have their own version of hellhounds that they put in the book that are specific to the underworld. That like literally there is a Cerberus that has 3 heads and stuff, that has its own stat block and everything. But I could very easily see you taking one of those and using it as like a dungeon den boss, and then having the whole place be populated by lesser hellhounds. I would run the shit out of that.
This moment in Theros brought to you by Dungeon Dad.
Dude, I totally just realized you're wearing a Quick Trip hoodie.
Yeah, so a viewer mailed
That's like
this
a
to me
really
because-
common gas station where I live.
Yeah,
It's so
we
weird
don't
seeing
have
someone else with that.
we don't have them in Canada. I was wearing a Come and Go hoodie too in one video that someone sent me, and then a viewer saw it and was like, "Hey, I'm a Quick Trip employee." And we and all the people at the station I work at, we watch your videos at work sometimes, and we saw you wearing that Come and Go hoodie. So we want to send you a
Okay.
Quick Trip hoodie to wear in your next video. So I was like, okay, sure.
Right
So
on.
they sent me this hoodie.
It's a nice
pretty
gas
funny.
station, man. It's like
That's awesome.
like the Hilton of gas stations.
Yeah, anytime I'm through America, quick trip all the way.
There you go. All right. So I will was that it, Fred? Did you have any more to add in to the end of that? That was good. That's good. Okay. All right. I will put a wrap on this one and we'll go into our last one. So for those of you that are watching this video at home after the fact and would like to tell us about hellhounds or whatever dogs that breathe fire that are in your world, please leave a comment below. Much appreciated. And
If you're watching this video in the future, it means that we're all now Canadian.
That's right.
Yeah.
And we stopped at numerous quick trips on the way there.
If you're watching this video in a quick trip, shout out.
Rapid journeys.
We don't have those
You get a
around
free
here. though.
slushy. Just present this video to the cashier for a free slushy.
I don't even know where the closest one is to me. I'm in Illinois. We don't have any around here. I have a lot of Casey's.
I mean, I'm in Kansas, and they're all over the
Are they?
place.
Wow.
Yeah, man. If you were a wayfarer in dire need and running ragged on your harrowing adventure, and you see that QT on the red sign raising in the distance, hope will beam within your heart, and you know that you will survive.
I love it. I love it. Let's move on to the Golem. But of course, before we do, just another big shout out to everyone for joining us tonight. We appreciate it. A great, lively chat. Thank you. I am definitely reading everything. I can't respond very well because I'm terrible at doing two things at once, but I do see you. So thank you very much. I still have the Banshee. I had the Banshee up that entire time on the Hellhound. That's right. We're going to move to the Golem. So the Golem, and who started last time?
We could do it all over again. You just want to start back?
I don't know if I'd survive.
I think Fred has a couple more ideas he's holding back on us.
Yeah.
Oh, Dungeon Master never gives up all of their ideas.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, Esper, I have to prepare because every time I usually wind up going last, and as a result, when you go last, you look like the egg because you have nothing left to say. So I don't not get caught.
I think
My idea is what everyone else said, but it's the Eldritch version. It has tentacles.
Oh wow. I forgot what we were doing. What were we doing? I don't remember.
Mine's like everybody else's, but it's got a subscription now.
Golem.
I think actually we're talking
Talking
about
of mindless
the
automatons.
Golem, and you're gonna mess me up because I did this construct video a couple of years ago, and I kept saying Golem in my script, and I was like, had to freaking drill to say Golem, and you're knocking me back into Golem now.
I am. Is it Golem or Golem? I am so sorry. I don't remember.
Golem is from the Lord of the Rings. Golem is.
It's a golem?
It's from Jewish mythology, in fact.
Okay.
Golem is Lord of the Rings.
Golem Smeagol.
Right on.
That's Golem.
My
Just forget the. Here's was the trick. You got to forget the M and just see the GOLE.
like very good.
Pole.
Yes. Few people in the chat leaving. Sir William, GTG. I guess that means good to go, or Golem to Golem. One of the two. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Appreciate it. Yes. So Golem from here on out.
We could have tea time now.
That's true. Yeah. Dungeon Dad is going to start us off on the Golem. Tell us about it.
So the first thing I noticed when I looked at this prompt was that there wasn't a specific type of golem listed. It was just golems. So I was like, all right, that gives me a wide berth here.
Non-IP golem.
There's
a reason why. There's a reason why me and Wally decided on the Basilisk, the Hellhound, the Banshee, and the Golem, because Dungeons and Donuts can't claim it, so we're gonna talk about it. Nah.
It's
Yeah,
a
so
mythological-
in the 5th edition monster manual from Dungeons and Dragons on page 47, you'll find the stone golem, which is what I'm about to talk about now. All kinds of different golems. Something that is I guess common in every different iteration of the golem. Now I'm doing it. In the golem mythology is that there has to be some kind of like you create the body and you carve the runes or do whatever you need to do depending on what kind of automaton you're trying to create. But there has to be some kind of like spark of life that grants it motion, which in certain interpretations is the essence of an elemental creature, usually from the plane of earth. It's just kind of like imbued and sort of trapped within this body that the wizard has prepared so that it can go about its business and do its thing. So something that I was thinking of would be really interesting is if you had a city, it would probably have to be a city or something, some kind of society that is entirely dependent on services rendered by these golems. Like it started out, oh, we've got a couple, there's this new wizard in town, and then he taught his craft his pupils, and they started making more, and then industry does what industry does, and now there's this big city, and all the menial labor is just done by golems. Like no one has to have a job that they don't want to have when it comes to anything that's just like labor. So that's great.
It's the
Everyone's
AI
living it
golem.
up. Yeah, and then all of a sudden
They've all got 7 fingers.
and all of a sudden a like a Tao or some kind of powerful elemental lord from the plane of earth shows up and is like, okay, so you guys have been stealing and trapping these like essences of elemental creatures from my domain for centuries now, and there's like thousands or even tens of thousands, or it reaches a critical mass, like it rolls into 6 figures, and they're like, all right, we got to do something about this. So
You've exceeded
then
750,000 golems. I'm here now.
yeah, right. You've hit the number. But for whatever reason, this like planar rift opens up, and then it just starts an invasion from the elemental plane of earth, where they're just trying to reclaim the souls of their stolen brethren by smashing and destroying all these golems. And I imagine you could do like a bit of a political thing with it, where they're, they send an emissary to the king or whoever is in charge, and it's like, we want you to dismantle and destroy every golem in the city. And they're like, that's not happening, because our entire society is reliant on that now. Like there would be riots in the streets. And they're like, well, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But in a few months, we'll see what happens. And then a war starts, and away we go. That's more of like a setting than a specific adventure, because there's a lot of different little adventures you could do, or big adventures you could do within that idea. But yeah, that's my
that's
pitch
cool
for,
world building, man.
for golems.
I like that idea. You've done that a few times with like different discussions that we've had, where the more you use something or the more you take advantage, the greater chances are that something bad's going to happen or something like that.
Someone is
I love
always
that.
going to notice.
Yeah.
Someone is always going to notice when a
I love that.
society in a
Yeah.
fantasy world is thriving off of by exploiting something else. Sometimes it's exploiting like a magical law, and then you have people from Primus showing up and being like, all right, you guys are not supposed to be immortal, so we're going to do something about that really quick, or whatever. But yeah,
Like the Elder Scrolls world, their economy is based on gold, and there's a spell that can turn iron into gold. A spell that you can just cast essentially at will, because your magic bar just refills. So you think that would probably get exploited pretty quickly in that world.
absolutely. That feels like something that would be so illegal, right?
It's like their economy is based on gold, but
Can't
each gold
fly,
piece
but
is
it's
1
perfectly
kilo.
fine to turn iron into gold.
It's like these big chunks of gold. Here you go. How many is that? It's 52.
Yeah,
Inflation is killing my back,
economy.
man.
The economy was the true enemy. Your adventurers roll into a small village with 1,000 gold and just disperse it amongst everyone. Now the economy is wrecked. Like a loaf of bread costs 30 gold pieces because everyone's a billionaire or whatever.
Am I going last on this list of golem descriptions?
You are going last. That is correct.
Good. Yeah.
Okay. Esper, what do you have for us? The golem.
All right, so I had a couple ideas that I liked. Like I had this one adventure where the characters were pretty low level, trapped in the Underdark. They were at, I think, 3rd level by this point, and there was a steam cave with water and fire elementals fighting each other, and they couldn't get through because it was a lake of elementals fighting, and they were just level 3, and there was this blocked off tunnel. But then they found this old fire golem, and they like had to repair it and get fire onto it so it would heal, because iron golems absorb fire. And they used the iron golem to like bash through that tunnel, and it was like their ally for a while. And then in my book, in the Emporium, there's the adamantine golem that it has a whole bunch of lore and a devastating encounter with it in the Land of Dreams and Nightmares campaign. But in talking to you guys, you all made me remember one that actually I have not ran yet, but I did design it, called the Pillow Golem. That's right, it's a golem made of pillows. So I'm going to read to you its stat block here. It is a medium-sized construct. It has an armor class of a mere 12. Usually golems have a high armor class, but it's just made of pillows, so it's a 12. The hit points are a mere 26, which is low. It's just a CR1. It's just made of pillows, okay? It has damage vulnerability, fire. It is immune to poison and psychic and non-magical, non-adamantine attacks. So it's the cool thing is that these low-level characters aren't probably going to have magic weapons, so they have to find ways to kill it with fire. You know, get out your flint and tinder out of your pack, or maybe someone has a firebolt cantrip. What else is cool about the Pillow Golem? False appearance. While the golem remains motionless, it's indistinguishable from a pile of normal pillows. Innate spellcasting, using Constitution as a spellcasting ability. Twice per day can cast Sleep. The attack, it has 2 attacks, slam attacks that deal bludgeoning damage. If the attack reduces a creature to 0 hit points, the creature is knocked out.
Right, automatic subdual.
And stable, because you just got pillow fought to death.
Thanks for the super chat, Robin Sills. Helodine's blessings to you too.
It does have a lethal attack called Smother. It suffocates a large or smaller creature that is unconscious and within 5 feet of it. The creature can survive for a number of rounds equal to its Constitution modifier, and then at the start of the following turn, it drops to 0 hit points. The golem must use Smother each turn to maintain this effect, and a creature that does not need to breathe is unaffected by Smother. There we have it. Pillow Golem.
Where is that? Where are you reading that at? I thought that was in your book. I was like looking for yours.
The adamantine golem is
the adamantine golem. Okay.
Golem, comma adamantine. Yeah, that's in there.
I love that.
It has all the lore and stories behind it. Pillow Golem is. I'm just reading it from my own notes here.
Yeah, you hit like all
silly golems.
Yeah. Before we do continue though, hey, thanks Robin for the super chat. Much appreciated. Late to the fun, but so happy to meet fellow dice rollers. Yes, appreciate it. Thanks for coming in. Awesome discussion tonight. Pillow Golem. Let's go back. Golem. I'm learning, guys. I'm getting there. But yeah, once you started talking about sleep and smothering and everything else, I love monsters like that. Those are fun.
It's like in the same vein as the plush golem. The plush golem is
like a big plushie.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, and it's like a guardian that nobles buy for their kids because it's like a big toy they can play with, but it also can crush a man's skull with its bare hands. So they'll buy them a plush golem that looks like a giant teddy bear, but it's actually a magical creature. Or the chocolate golem was another silly one too. Those are both from the.
You can make anything into a golem.
Nice. I remember
chocolate golems are actually kind of scary because they have a breath attack that breathes like molten chocolate that can burn and scald you. And then if you're exposed to cold damage while covered in chocolate, it hardens around you. It's just kind of funny.
How long does it take, do you think, to clean chocolate after you've been sprayed with chocolate by a chocolate golem if you're wearing a beard and a mustache and it gets in there?
You're never clean again.
I'm sure Josiah could answer that question. I feel like he has personal information.
When I made that video,
he strikes me as somebody who's been covered in chocolate.
I have been for the video I did about the chocolate golem. We went to the bulk barn, which is like a place you can just buy candy and stuff in bulk, and bought a bunch of I can't remember what they're called, but like those chocolate coins that are meant to be melted. like baker's chocolate. We melted it all down in a bowl, and I had it all over my face, like in my beard. And I specifically wore like a white shirt, and I had it all over my shirt. And I was pretending to be on the phone with someone. I was like, "Yeah, man, I don't know what happened to the chocolate golem. Like, I don't know where it went. We got to order another one, whatever."
You'll just have to shave your beard off.
Not a chance.
That's the
Thus the
dedication
beginning
to
of
his.
Clan Choco Beard.
I love it. I
Yeah,
love
it was the quickest little 10-second bit, but it took like 30 minutes to clean up after.
Your dedication to your bits is legendary. Like standing in a 40-degree room, with layers and layers of clothing on.
Wasn't that the one where Doxy came in too and just like looked at the camera and backed out? Is that?
Oh, that was the chocolate golem. Yeah,
Yeah.
because she was like eating it out of a bowl.
That was hilarious. I love that bit. Love it.
That's silly.
I guess I am after Esper, so I'll go ahead and take us to the next level of craziness. And in my notes, I put golems in the monster manuals are boring. Flesh, iron, stone, blah, blah, blah. And then I took out my old Beckme book, which has a picture of a hellhound on there, by the way. But I was reading in my Beckme book, this is the blue book, and it says, golems can be made of almost any material, but the ones listed here are typical. The GM should feel free to create new ones with any special powers desired. And that gave me all the inspiration I needed to make an entire list. But I'm only going to read a few. Now, I haven't actually designed any yet, but I am looking forward to it because I think golems could be one of the funnest things to design. And I think another part of note too, and it says it in this book as well, is the golems don't have to be humanoid looking. Like for the amber golem, it says that amber golems are usually created to be in the form of like a lion or a tiger. So I found that fascinating, just to change perspectives of what different golems would look like. Now I have used a few. I used a couple that were invented by in the Tome of Beasts by Kobold Press, and that was the keg golem, which could shoot beer out of its snout, and that one was a lot of fun to run. And then there was a paper golem that was protecting a library. Both of those were cool. One of my favorites that I did run was with my prismatic owl puzzle, and it was a gross flesh golem made out of owls, and it was like the big bad at the end, which was cool. But with that in mind,
Like actual owls, like actual
yeah,
dead owls?
yeah, like dead owls.
Oh,
The dude had a thing for owls and put them all together, made an owl golem. Sorry, that's going to take some getting used to. And then it was just like, how could we be a little bit more fun in the future? So I was thinking, Stave Puft Marshmallow Man. Let's go back to that Ghostbusters reference. That's basically a golem, in my opinion. And no matter the little ones from the
colossal size.
Yes, or in the new Ghostbusters movie, there's a lot of little ones, which I think would be fun. A cotton candy golem would be fun. That you would actually do more damage by eating it than you would by trying to slice it with your sword. I think an old blanket golem, just like Grandma used to make with all the patches, and she's like sew your shirts together and make something really neat, maybe crochet or something. I thought
Quilt golem?
yeah, quilt, yes.
Quilt golem. Whoa, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that would be a lot of fun. I thought I was being original with the spider web golem, but I found that was somewhere else online, so I scratched that out. So I don't know why I read that, but I just did. And then one that I really want
You have this recurring grandma theme, I've noticed.
Hey, grandmas are awesome.
I was just there working on my quilt golem when a hellhound came and roasted me to death of the neighbor's hellhound, and that's how I died. She's the Banshee too.
Earmuffs. But the one that I think I want to explore a little bit more is going to be a jawbreaker golem. So like every few points you break off a shell, and it has different effects depending on what shell. So kind of like layers of like a jawbreaker candy where it's got like 3 or 4 different colors, and you smash into it for a little bit, the shell breaks off, and it's like different golem underneath.
It's like a prismatic wall.
Yeah.
And it needs to actually break jaws too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Are gargoyles considered a golem since they are made of stone?
Technically by D&D, gargoyles are elementals associated with earth. I personally disagree with that. They are constructs in my book.
And I say, Dungeons and Donuts, just ignore it. Yeah, I'm with Esper on this. We yeah, it's a golem. Golem.
Awesome.
A golem.
Construct. It is construct. No,
Yeah.
Golem might be stretching a little bit.
We don't say no in Dungeons and Dragons. We just say you could do this.
I like that.
In a world of magic
Donut
and
Golem.
wonder, anything is possible.
Well, no in D&D is. Are you sure?
Donut
Yeah.
Golem. Richard says Cookie Golem. I like that. I think Colin mentioned Hair Golem.
One of the old monster manuals from 3rd edition had one of my favorite golems in it, which is the Hangman Golem, which is a golem made out of a bunch of ropes that were used to hang criminals, and they're often used as partners to like bounty hunters and stuff. We did a Curse of Strahd in the Bayou campaign, and that was a very fun encounter to run. Was the Hangman Golem at the gallows with the spirit of the Hangman. It was very cool. It's a
Right
cool
on.
golem.
Yeah, I like the Hangman Golem.
Love it. I'll pass the torch to Fred whenever you're ready.
I'm ready. So I'm going to go right back. I don't know that much about it. I had to do a bit of research, and in fact, I discovered I actually had to rewatch a lot of stuff multiple times. But I was looking at the story of the Golem of Prague. Is it the Golem of Prague, right? This is the okay. So you'll, if I get it wrong, AJ will step in, I'm sure. So basically, a clay humanoid or person with a ritual performed on it with I believe it was some sort of script. I can't remember what it is. It's a piece of parchment with, is it the name of God or something like that that goes into the mouth, and then on the forehead was put some symbols or some writing. No, I've got that wrong. Okay, but I know there was something on the forehead. I'm pretty sure there was there. Okay, I haven't got exactly the right. Yeah, but I like the idea that this was created by a holy man, and it's designed to protect a group of people within a city because they've been targeted by prejudice. And really, that was the story of the Jews being targeted in Prague. And so I actually really like the idea of taking that concept because it's got lots of different things going on. And there were also a lot of consequences with having that golem. And one, it had good sides, but there's mistakes you could make, which did occur. I believe you have to deactivate it on a Sunday. Otherwise, it just goes rampant, and which is exactly what it did. I'm pretty sure it did go rampant on the Sunday. But I mean, I could be wrong. You'll fill in the gaps. But I really like that story. Out of all of the stories that I've seen with regard to the Golem and a construct, I think that's the one that sort of stood out for me. And I found myself rewatching that story on YouTube about 3 times. So, yeah. So that's the one I'm going to put forward.
So the story goes, this is back in the 16th century in the Polish city. Polish rabbi, whose name was Reb Low, created the automaton, basically out of clay, mimicking God's creation of Adam out of the red clay. My first name is actually Adam, so I know what it means, red clay. The name of God was inscribed on a tablet, which was placed under the tongue, in the mouth of the golem. So that was what its animating force was, because in the in like Hebrew mythology and stuff, the name of God is essentially the sound of a breath. It's the intake and the exhale of a breath. So every time somebody breathes, they're speaking the name of God. And so because the golem doesn't breathe, you had to put the name of God in it to give it breath. And that is why if they forgot to take the tablet out of its mouth on a Sunday, on the Sabbath, so that might be a Saturday or a Sunday, depending on which, I'm not sure. And it disintegrated because it went against the word of God. And so that was it. I don't know if it went on a rampage. That might have been a part of the movie. And the movie, it was more of a protector, but in the folklore, it was more of a construction worker, tireless worker that helped them build and do that sort of stuff. So it was a tireless labor force that would just work and work and work and work, and they forgot to take the tablet out of its mouth and just disintegrated. But I have lots of different ideas for golems. It's one of my favorite categories of monsters to invent stuff for. One of my favorites is the cheapo candlestick golem that activates as long as it's lit. So it slowly burns down away to nothing. It's like this little stub with like little waxy arms.
I love that idea.
Somebody mentioned in chat the jokingly the rock paper scissors, like you're being attacked by a rock golem, and then a paper golem comes out and attacks it, and then a scissor golem comes out and attacks that one, a blade golem. It's like rock paper scissors. Ha ha. Quite a good theme.
Don't take the rock golem for granted.
I love Josiah's idea of the execution type golem. Imagine if it's like an altar that's been used to construct, and so this is like one of the bloody sacrificial South American pyramid type altars, which is soaked in the blood of sacrificed victims who have been used for divination and stuff. And this thing's motivated by taking you, slamming you against this thing, and then going whack with its blade and chopping your heads clean off, and then your blood gets spurting and soaks into the thing.
Yeah, and it could even have the ziggurat stepped body in your head goes rolling down it.
Yeah. And maybe it does something like that, and then somebody nearby gets a dismal vision of the future because it's using divination. So it forces a dire portent on you that when that situation comes up later in the game, your character has disadvantage because they're emotionally compromised. Like they're really worried that something's like that. It's so horrible that they haven't told anybody about it. But like once they hear
maybe the ally's head when it rolls down the steps, if it flicks the blood on you, you get the curse.
There you go. Yeah. So there's lots of things that you can do with it, and tie in that whole mythology thing to it too. The Warforged in Eberron are a really good example of how they got that idea of the Gulra symbol, which is the symbol is the name of the soul. It's the true name of the soul, which has been stolen essentially and fed into the forge. And the forge is producing these things with a living soul, but in actual fact, it's just that it's a stolen soul. It was destined to go somewhere else, so it's actually broken divine law. So a warforged, every single time it comes across a celestial or even a devil, would be marked for death because you've broken a very sacred law that's across all multi-planes of do not mess with souls, because that's the origin of all life, and the old ones will come back and get you. There's that sort of thing. But I like that idea that their Gulra symbol is actually their true name, and they can never hide it per se. But maybe they could cover it up. But if you know a Warforged Gulra, you can control it using name magic. That's it.
I dig it, man. That's hella good lore.
Yeah. So it's good. So it's interesting because I really try to work really hard on trying to get the information right for the Golem of Prague, but but who knows
by the
how
way,
the stories.
If you want to pronounce it correctly, just pronounce it Chinese. Golem.
Interesting.
Okay. It won't make any difference. You know me. I'm all over the place with everything. But anyway, I wanted to go back to Josiah's idea too. I really like the idea that it's an automaton, and can you imagine if you had the opportunity to have Golem, or a variety of them. It's basically like iRobot, the movie with Will Smith. So now you have a factory worker who doesn't eat, doesn't need to take breaks, doesn't need to take a rest, doesn't need to drink, and doesn't need to worry about. You don't have to worry about them joining a union. Like they're not going to join a union. Like that's not going to happen. You don't have to worry about labor force issues. Okay, it's gone, and
Terry Pratchett's Discworld.
It's never going to break down. And you can work it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Like, bam, we got that. That's true capitalism at its peak. But
remember, if you set a golem to dig a well, remember to turn it off.
Yeah. I like the idea that though you could take that and
that's
then what
how
happens?
We got the molten core golem.
Yeah. What happens if the factory worker golem gets disgruntled? It goes against all the things you thought I don't have to worry about them ever causing me problems at the normal labor force, and then you suddenly have a disgruntled golem factory worker going on a killing spree. So yes, I thought I'd throw that in there just for the sake. We need a bit more blood somewhere in this.
I can picture a situation where you've got a city. This would be really good for Dark Sun, actually, with the sort of dystopian city-state thing, where they're relying on a golem workforce, but it's under the idea that golems are just automatons. They're robots. They have no feelings or anything. And then one day, somebody discovers a golem is like reaching down and picking up a flower and looking at it, and it gets hidden. Like that information is forbidden. Nobody should know that there's emergent emotions and intellect coming out of these things who are set to the most dismal, horrible tasks, and now you've got the league of people who are trying to free golems, which is exactly what happened in Terry Pratchett's Ankh-Morpork Discworld, that people were trying to rescue golems from these horrible positions, conditions they were stuck in for years and years and years, never seeing the light of day, just making brick after brick after brick. Yeah.
That's very similar to like the story with the Warforged in Eberron. Same kind of idea about how there was this war and they were just created to do battle, much as I imagine golems would be. Like that's a job that you send a robot to do, is to fight on the front lines, because who cares if 1,000 of them die? Like it doesn't matter.
The quote from one of the guys who was playing a Star Wars game where there were clone troopers, and he's like, "Yay, we've won a battle for somebody else's war that we were created as slaves to fight." And everybody's like, "Yay!" And the idea of golems being slaves, being made to suffer, long suffering.
I have one that's a little off the beaten path, but would Frankenstein's monster be a flesh golem then? A golem, flesh golem?
That's
I would argue yes.
Flesh golem.
What's that?
Yeah.
That's the inspiration for the flesh golem. Mm-hmm.
Frankenstein.
It's like a
monster.
stitched together body.
Yeah, Mary Shelley, 1818, first female science fantasy writer. Also,
I think that's considered the
trailblazer.
first science fiction book ever.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
very cool.
I call it science fantasy.
Sure. Yeah, but I like that level of tech where it's that kind of, Renaissance era tech. I think that's really cool.
Mm. And in that one, the story is really about Victor Frankenstein not realizing, like, he didn't take into responsibility for what he made. He was so obsessed with making
tampering with something that is not supposed to be tampered with.
Yeah, and then it had a personality and thoughts and feelings of its own, and he's just like cannot deal with this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
One last
goes
idea.
on a rampage.
Yeah, as they all do at some point, whether it's rightfully or wrongfully. But usually, I mean, with the flesh golem, there was always an issue, right? It was actually somebody else's fault ultimately somewhere along the line. I was thinking, it's got to be the treasure golem. Do you know what I mean? That treasure hoard. It's like a magnet treasure hoards, right? So the thing you do is you wind up deciding, oh, well, yes, there's a treasure hoard, but also there's a treasure golem made up of treasure that acts as the guardian to contend with those tomb raiders, those treasure hunters. Because that's the first question that everybody asks when they get into the treasure vault. Do I see any monsters and creatures? And of course you say, no. You see a big pile of treasure, coins, and so forth. And then, of course, once they start filling their pockets and loading up, then it's action time. So I always like that as a...
These gold pieces are stuck to each other.
I just like to be able to say if the player says, I grab the treasure, no, the treasure grabs you.
The treasure loots your body.
The idea of the tiny golems, like the Stay Puft Marshmallow lings. The idea of tiny, like I know that the trope of the camera, and you open it up and there's an imp inside that actually has been painting the pictures. Well, it could be a golem. That's just like doing it super fast.
Yeah,
tiny golems doing things in concert, like army ants. You see something just moving
machines.
across. It's like, what is that? It's like these little crab-sized golems.
Micro golems. That's
A
something
swarm
that
of nano golems.
Yeah, that's a really fun way.
Legitimately terrifying.
To use the flesh golem is to have it just wandering around aimlessly with a really cool looking shiny sword stabbing through the center of its body sticking out. You throw that encounter at a low level party and it's like, okay, we don't have any magic weapons. We probably can't hurt it very much, but there's a sword stabbing through it, which means that that's definitely a magic weapon. We want that. So like, how do we get the sword out of it and also survive? So yeah, like maybe you befriend it.
Wow. So you can have like a low level golem is powered by the magic of a +1 sword. So to take the sword, you have to it actually deactivates the golem. That's brilliant.
Why does it have to be a flesh golem? Why can't it be a rock or stone golem?
It could be any kind of golem.
A little Excalibur. No, I'm thinking Excalibur and the stuck in the stone golem.
Yeah, you go up to take the sword out, and then the stone gets up and says,
you have that would be a great.
You're not
twist on
worthy.
that. It's like you have to the one true king pulls the sword from the stone. You're like, that doesn't sound so hard. Where is it? It's in the East Valley. You go there, and there's just like a 30-foot stone golem walking around with a sword sticking out of one of its eyes or something. You're like, oh, that's
Taking
the
that-
stone.
Taking that idea of the mythos of the name of God being in the mouth of the golem, and the golem is like, and it's like, I can't understand you. It's like, what? Just disappears.
Oh, very good. This is probably one of my favorite ones because I haven't used the golems very much, and I was flipping through some Kobold Press books, and they've got a lot of great ideas for golems as well, and you do a lot of just internet research, and I've seen a lot of great
Golems are
ideas.
awesome.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of great
I think
ideas
it's
in
like a really
chat.
good
It's just-
artifact, actually. Just
Yeah.
the tablet that the thing
Mhm.
holds in its mouth. So you put it on any substance, and it will slowly form the golem around it.
oh wow,
Until which time you take it out again, and then it disappears.
yeah, but there you go. Fred's got the Tome of Beasts. We'd pass
There's
that around,
also
but maybe a
the-
different time.
Yeah, there's also
I want that back.
the void golems, I think they're called, which are golems made from clay that is harvested from the banks of the river Styx. And they're like big bulbous golems that have like souls trapped inside of them. So there's like the imprints of faces as if they're trapped inside, like pushing on the inside of their bodies, and their heads are just these giant, like swirling vortexes of black holes that emit like a
Monster
scream
Manual
that
3
can be heard
from
like
third
a mile
edition.
away.
I
That's
like
exactly it.
Love
Yeah,
that book.
and they like
Yeah.
suck stuff into their heads and like gets trapped inside of them. The souls do, anyways. They're very, very creepy. Very
Are tomb
cool.
tappers a form of golem, or are they a living? I know they're a mage bred thing.
I don't know that one.
They're like a giant humanoid with no head, and it's just got a big mouth in its
It's like a mouth in the belly.
yeah, in its belly, and it's usually got a big bludgeoning thing, which is designed to just destroy
I'm gonna-
magic stuff or something. No, they
Very-
killed the Faerun, I think. They made fight the Faerun. I don't know.
They are
It's-
constructs, but they're not golems.
right.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the difference between a construct and a golem. is that-
There are
is that-
tomb tappers in 5th edition. I didn't know that. I just
Mm,
learned something. I don't know what book they're in.
I think they're in the Monsters of the Multiverse.
That
Or
sounds right.
one of those, yeah. Oh, about the this false Hydra
They're
stuff
in
you've been
Rime of
talking
the
about,
Frost
Fred.
Maiden.
I found a script for it, but all it says is this.
Fantastic.
You
Um,
bring that prepared.
I move in mysterious ways.
AJ just always has that on standby. So when we're playing D&D, if you fail your save or whatever.
My hands are always multitasking.
That's awesome.
I just found it amazing, AJ,
Maybe
that I could
AJ's
not
the
find a video
Basilisk.
on.
Got 8 hands,
Yeah.
writing mysterious messages that we'll never understand.
I just found it amazing, AJ. I'm looking on your channel for a video on the Golem, and I couldn't find anything.
No. All I had was one on the constructs early on where the sound quality is really, really bad. And I've always been meaning to remaster it, but I never will.
I've got a constructs video as well from a few years ago, and I go into the golems and the like core 5e bestiaries.
Actually, this is more interesting, more fun, I think, for like take a monster and just give people a ton of ideas of different ways of using it. Like, don't even cover
Agreed.
what's in the monster manual because they can just read it themselves.
Right.
Something
And that's
that I found when making my books, a bunch of monsters in there, is the construct creature type is one where I just had like endless ideas. It's a creature type that just gives and gives and gives, unlike some other ones that are more limited, like giant and dragon. It's kind of hard to come up with a bunch of different types of giants and dragons, and ooze is kind of difficult as well because they're much more specific.
Yeah.
Talking of giving, thanks to
Constructs
everybody who
and
gave us.
undead are just like endless numbers of them.
Thanks to everybody who joined us in the chat and for the super chats. And if you have any suggestions for the next bunch of monsters for us to cover, let us know. We'd be more
Yes,
than happy to come back and do
absolutely.
this again. This is our form of R&R.
Yeah.
So absolutely let us know. If you love this sort of video, let us know. Like, spread, share, enjoy. You know, let people know. And that will encourage us to come back and spend some time with you as well.
I think that was the perfect ending to this video. Anybody? Any last words to say on the way out? We good? We done?
This was so cool. Do you know? I've missed this. I've missed hanging out. I mean, been hanging out with Wally for ages, and then I dragged AJ into it and Josiah, and finally managed to get Esper here. The only people that I'm kind of missing is Mark and Gonzo. So yeah, but this was great. This was a good way to start 2023.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Cheers to that, man.
Cheers. Yes, absolutely. This was great. I love that. This is just like playing an RPG to me. Just hanging out, discussing things, brainstorming. This was good times. I appreciate you guys being here.
Play.
Yes. Thank you very much. And a huge shout out to the chat. Thank you everyone for being so active in there. It was great reading through everything. You're awesome. Thanks, chat. Yep. A few books on the way out. You've got mine. I've got Esper's.
Check out Wally's Puzzle Encounters. It's a pretty cool book.
And you've got Esper's book
I've
here.
used one of those puzzles recently and adapted it in one of my adventures, and it was a real hit.
Thank you.
It was the floating orbs one.
Oh, that's one of my favorites. I do like that one.
I may have to start calling you Wally Grimtooth.
Oh, that's a compliment for sure. But yeah, let's go ahead and sign out. Thank you everybody for watching. And like AJ said, let us know what do you want to see next. And I guess on to the next, guys.